Oh no, that's a problem.
Luis Guzman.
I assure you, I could kill you from way over here if it makes you feel any better.
All right, and we're getting started here tonight on Live Long On Podcast as we continue our 3.5-year journey through the Deep Space Nine episodes. I'm Dave Mader, joined tonight by my brother Jeff and our friend Jaemeel Robinson. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're talking season 1, episode 13, Battle Lines. That came out on April 25th, 1993. And we're just getting started here. So we're streaming here live on Facebook, and we're also posting to YouTube later on. You can listen to us on audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Okay, so as you heard, like the little clip there, this episode, Battle Lines, and I was not aware of this until today when I looked this up, but I was very excited by that. Jonathan Banks of Breaking Bad has a major role in this episode. And is the leader of, I believe, is the leader of the Ennis.
Yeah,
because there's the Ennis and the Null Ennis. The Null Ennis are the bad Ennis.
The Null Ennis are the ones with hats, and the Ennis are the ones without hats. That's what I pieced together. That's so great.
It was a moment. We will play the moment of Kira doing the thing. Yeah, like with, okay. So yeah. Okay, the death of Kaiopaka. The death and resurrection of Kaiopaka, I might add, a big part of this episode. So, as we said, this is the 13th episode of this first season of this spinoff, and Kaiopaka is introduced in the pilot, an emissary, and then they brought her back in this episode just to kill her off. And this is the last we see of Kaiopaka, as far as I remember. Spoilers, but
didn't she say at the end of the episode that her and the emissary are gonna cross paths again?
Yeah, that I don't think that. Well, unless there's some kind of Deep Space Nine sequel down the road, I don't think we're getting that. I don't think we're getting the sequel with Kaiopaka and Cisco coming out of the. Cisco's kind of gone way beyond being a Kai. He's lived with the prophets for. Well, we don't really know because we haven't picked up that part of the story. So. Yeah. But we'll see what they do if they ever do it. But yeah, Kaiopaka, I liked her, but I think that they knew that Kai Wynn is her successor ultimately, and
Jameel's down on Kai Wynn. I don't think anybody's up on her, but I mean, this one seems nicer and less psychopathic.
Yes,
right.
She's still there's a common theme though with Kai's that they're these like masterminds that like are like like they always have these mastermind plans and stuff, and I'm just like, can't there just be a normal Kai? Like why are they all like these nefarious people that have these mastermind plans? Like even this one who seems like a pretty nice person, but still pulling the strings in some sort of a way. I mean, I guess you don't get to that level of power. I guess that's what they're trying to say. You don't get to that level of power if you're not.
I need to get to the wormhole, so I'm just going to stare out into space until Cisco gets uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, we got to break this whole thing down. Okay, so this whole episode starts off, weirdly enough, with a whole like they're reading a dossier, an old file from the last prefect of Bajor, which is Gul Dukat, I believe, but they don't name him by name here. They say he had a file on Kira and the whole resistance, and she was labeled as the courier girl. She was nothing else, and she's like, they're like, don't let Kira see that. She will be upset if she sees what they were saying about her. But ultimately, they let her read it. She comes out of the office, and she is not happy. She's like, I killed lots of people.
Yep.
I was no errand girl. I killed a ton of people. What do you mean?
I'm proud of it.
I'll kill them again.
Not getting away from it. yeah, like it was. What do you make of this? Yeah, okay.
She can also barely walk up those spiral stairs. Like she's like really struggling to get up there, and she was, but I kill people.
Yeah, I didn't notice that part, but yeah, okay. I guess that they're addressing the whole thing of Kira's backstory as a Bajoran terrorist, as a freedom fighter, a liberator, whatever you want to label her as. That she, blew up a lot of things, killed people, attacked Cardassians, and who were occupying her homeland, and yeah, so there's this reconciliation, and they talk a lot. I think there's been a lot of talk about Kira. I think especially since 9/11, that you couldn't do Deep Space Nine after like that. Maybe not telling that part of the terrorist stories, because there will be go on to be other stories that will explore Kira's backstory as a member of the Resistance and everything else. Better episodes than this, I would probably say.
I think you could do it. I mean, Homeland came out after September 11th. I mean, and that's a very, serious show about terrorism. So I think,
and plus with Star Trek, they would probably just highlight that she wasn't a terrorist; she was a freedom fighter, and just push that angle more and more.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it'll be fine.
I don't think people have a problem dealing with that subject. It's just it might not have been good right after September 11th. There was a bunch of movies that they postponed.
Right. I think it's hard to say. Like, it's been almost 20 years since that happened, and I think maybe it's not as fresh in our minds. But I guess when a lot of these interviews were being done after the fact, that was still very much present in their minds, and they talked about how Kira was, and they talked about the two sides of that, right? How the one being the victim of the terrorist, whoever, and the one being the terrorist, and how even what that label means and everything else. So that's a big part of this, but also the religion of the Bajorans is also a deep thing. The Celestial Temple, the wormhole, and guess what? Kaiopaka shows up, and so Kira, that's like the Pope showing up for her. That's big deal.
Yes, but she really likes the Pope.
Yeah,
she will not like the next Pope.
She will not. No. Yeah, like.
Yeah, she's definitely kissing ass like for the most of the episode. She's a big fan, like you said. But yeah, like it's kind of like I feel like Sisko doesn't want to be on this mission at all. He's like he's just like kind of doing it as a favor, and it's really just to kind of like get a crying scene with Kira. We get that, which is hilarious and great, and we get to deal with the wormhole, the religious part about it, how the humans are kind of connecting and the Bajorans are connecting to the wormhole. The doctor's tagging along because he hasn't been in enough episodes, so we needed the doctor in this episode.
It turns out he ends up being useful on this mission, but he's not really necessary. But he's the one who first meets up with Kaiopaka, I guess, whatever pylon she's coming in on, and they know that she's never even left Bajor before. This is her first time leaving the planet, and this is kind of a big deal. So Sisko and Kira get down there. Bashir tags along just cause, and they're off. They're like,
you missed out on an important part of this, and that is Sisko makes plans with Kira and Opaka, and does not include Bashir. And Bashir has to like guilt his way into the trip. Like he was like, you were not invited, dude, and he still pushed himself to get on. It was great, further illustrating that people don't like this dude at all.
Yeah, and we'll see it actually next episode. At the beginning of the episode, like Bashir and O'Brien are in a shuttle together, and Bashir's like, "Hey, I'm cool, right? Right, you're my friend, right?" He's like, "Yeah, you're my friend." He's like, "But really, we're friends, right?" Like he's doing one of those. I can't wait till we get to that, so you guys can remember exactly how desperate this Bashir character is in season 1. I mean, it makes the episodes more entertaining to watch, especially like watching just people react to him, especially is hilarious.
Do before they get on the shuttlecraft, the guy gives O'Brien a necklace for his daughter out of the blue, and I don't know. I can't remember if it's paid off later on. Most likely not, but it just seemed like a random scene just to put in.
I guess the scene was only meant to say she's not coming back. She knew she wasn't coming back because she was reading prophecies, or she was maybe consulting orbs. I don't know. Like something had driven her to leave the planet for the first time, come to Deep Space Nine, and pretty much walk into this situation where she wouldn't come back.
A little bit too much time on the orbs, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
she was doing some meditation, and she had a vision, and she knew that she was going to fake her death, come back.
she had too many jambong sticks or whatever they have there on the promenade that they sell. She was hopped up on those, and Bajoran tea or whatever. But yeah, so they head off into the wormhole. First, it's just gonna be like we're gonna be in and out, but then she was like, she kind of pushes them. She pushes them, hey, what's that? What's that thing? And they're so ultimately and Sisko's pretty dumb about it, but he's kind of like, well, this is the Kai of Bajor. Part of my mission is to bring Bajor into the Federation, and becoming friends and an ally with Kai Opaka would serve him in that purpose. And they're not addressing him as emissary at this point.
Yeah.
I don't really get why that becomes a thing more later and not at this point. But because especially Kai Wynn, who comes after, wouldn't have decided that he was the emissary. But
no, she does, doesn't she? Isn't she obsessed with the fact that he's the emissary? She only wants to call him the emissary. They have a whole scene later on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I always thought she was against that, but maybe she was.
No, it's the opposite. There's a scene, like I think it's in an episode or two, where Kai Wynn's like emissary, and Sisko's like, call me Benjamin. You don't have to call me emissary. Is like So there's a whole scene where she's like, well, I can't. You are the emissary. How can I not call you the emissary? So she.
Okay. But Kai Opaka does not do that.
No, and I think it's to distinguish the fact that Kai Wynn is insane, and Kai Opaka seems a little bit more normal. Kai Wynn is the biggest psychopath in the entire
Star
show.
Trek?
Probably in Star Trek, certainly in Deep Space Nine. She's way more psychopathic than Gul Dukat. Gul Dukat at least cares about his daughter.
Yes.
True. What does Kai Wynn care about?
Herself and like her own power within the religion.
Yeah, being right, power, and herself.
Because who plays her? The actress who plays Kai Wynn?
It's
Nurse Ratched. Yeah, but like maybe they knew they had her coming into the show, and they were like, "No time for Kai Opaka. We need to get rid of her. We need to give this Kai role to a villain." Maybe they just had in the writers' room had figured that out.
Yeah, I think they had to do that because they had to have that kind of struggle with Kira, because I think it was to show you that like these lines are gray. Like they couldn't make the Bajorans 100% good guys. I think because then I think they would have had problems with that down the road.
Right. Okay, and then but eventually they're crashed on the planet in the episode because they run into a defense network. Kira's like, I don't like it, but you see later on that O'Brien handles this situation much better. He's like, nope.
That seems like a trap.
That seems like a trap. I'm not doing that. Now he kind of had the foreknowledge of that my comrades are missing, and they didn't have that. But still, I think O'Brien was a little bit more ready in that situation. But they end up on the planet, and it's quite the crash. It destroys that entire runabout. They don't even recover the runabout. They're all named after rivers. This one was a particularly difficult one to pronounce, as I recall. I don't have it, but it's okay.
Kai Wynn is played by Louise Fletcher. That's her name. That's the actress's name.
Louise Fletcher. That's it. Yes.
What do you want? Do you want the Kira crying? Is that what you want?
No, I have it. Hold on.
Here. So great.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I love how they walk away almost. They let her do this thing. When do you think it's over? She keeps going.
Okay, yeah.
And she starts to do the prayers, the Bajorn prayers.
Yeah, Vasu.
I think they should have done another take.
Kamera.
She's not even crying.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
When did Stan
Vasu.
watch this?
We've got company.
Jesus.
Yeah. Anyway, so
This goes like, Kira, shut up. We got people.
we got people are gonna get it now. Okay, and then they run into the Ennis. Luckily, they didn't run into or maybe it didn't matter who they ran into. They had ran into the Ennis or the Null Ennis. The only thing that mattered was which side Jonathan Banks was on from Breaking Bad, and he is the leader of the one. So it's a planet. What we come to learn is a planet of people who were from two different sides, and so the planet took them all and threw them on this planet together as an example. And so the Defense Network keeps them there, and they keep killing each other over and over again, and they keep coming back to life, and it's kind of a hell. But I don't understand why they want to keep killing each other like after that many times. But that's not the point. But this allows the death of Kaiopaka to be a resurrection, as we had mentioned. But everyone on this planet is kind of like a ghost; they can't leave. In some ways, it's so okay. So just as like a science fiction concept, cool, like kind of neat. Twilight Zone,
right.
yeah. Interesting. I think this episode is better on paper than it is in sort of actuality, maybe because of the performances. But I don't remember. I'd never connected this was Jonathan Banks because I didn't know who Jonathan Banks was back in 1993.
It's Buzz Hickey from Community.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's a great actor and everything. But he was.
You know what? I think this episode falls apart because it should be a Kira episode and it isn't. It's a Cisco episode, or it
That's
turns
right.
into it, right? It's supposed to be like her own personal hell while she's constantly still, fighting a fight that is long over, just like these people are. And she's not the driving force of the story. It's Cisco's kind of making inroads and talking to the two different groups. It should be Kira making that understanding that the fight is over and she needs to move past it. But nope, she is a passenger on this episode. Cisco does all the work, and then Kai is like, "That's you." That was basically her arc in it. She's like, "Oh yeah, it is kind of like me." That's it.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a Cisco episode. I think they did that because Cisco literally has not had an episode really since the first episode, and Kira's already had like 3. So I think that's why they gave him so much to do in this episode. But I agree that Kira, they should have dove a little bit deeper into Kira in this episode because I mean, like it's all of the religious metaphors and everything that's going on. But we're going to be coming up to a Kira episode that might be one of the best episodes of the series, which is Duet. So I think they knew they were going to give Kira her due, so they had to like kind of give Cisco a lot more, and the Doctor's just there.
Yeah, which I don't understand his role. Like, okay, I guess at a certain point they realized that it's kind of pointless working on these people because they're all just going to reanimate. So all of a sudden he becomes an engineer and he's fixing the ship.
Yeah, he's fixing the communication or the computer. Yeah, he fixes the computer.
Wouldn't it make more sense that like Cisco's doing that? Like trying to backtrack in Cisco's like career path. I assume he's has more engineering skills than Bashir, who's focused on medical. So shouldn't he be working on the ship? He's outside already.
Yeah, well, actually, Cisco actually is an engineer by background, so he would be more equipped to do that. But no, he's more interested in what's going on inside the cave, and he lets. But I think again, Bashir not likable. He's like, if Bashir goes, whatever,
Right, but I agree with Bashir's point to Cisco that like these people can get back to life, Cisco, and Cisco's like, Doctor, we're in the middle of a war here. We can't be trying to figure out resurrection. Like I'm like, what?
They were there for 2 or 3 days, right?
Yeah,
you should definitely try to figure that shit out. Like the Bashir's right. Like It's an unprecedented discovery if they can figure out how not to die.
Just to
True.
imagine how many people they can save, like put them in this magic stasis, and we can like figure out what the issue is, and then when we take them out for stasis, we can kind of like stabilize them or have them stable before we operate on them. But no, it's like, no, we're gonna solve this issue. I'm taking charge of this scenario. Prime directive be damned. I'm gonna do it my way.
How long do you think they had all been there, like on this planet?
It's,
No, the people, the Ennis, the Null Ennis.
could have been years and years. Like, who knows? Like he only says I've died too many times to count. So like, I don't know. how long does it take to not count how many times you've died?
Shut the fuck up. Let me die in peace.
Is Cisco kind of the Walter White in this scenario?
No, that was Mike. That was Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad and Breaking Call Saul.
You have to say.
I pulled 3 clips of him.
Your God.
You are not the guy. You're not capable of being the guy. I had a guy, but now I don't. You are not the guy.
I love that. I had a guy, and now I don't.
Is Cisco Walter White? You goddamn right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I should have done him in the radio theater. I don't know if you had heard that the one we did.
I didn't get a chance to. I was unfortunately taken away from work, but I do have friends. I was guesting on a friend's podcast, and they were they wanted to ask me a million questions about the radio theater, and they're like, please, can you convince them to let us on?
How many of them are there?
It's 2 of them. They are both actors.
Oh,
wow.
So they were like, "Oh, it's so awesome what they're doing." So
That's great.
kudos to you 2.
Oh, great! Thank you. Yeah, well, I was gonna plug that at the end of the show. We're doing Voyager next, and
It's going to be hilarious.
it's gonna be the funniest one we've ever done. So
We're doing the phage.
Oh,
yeah. Well, here, why bury the lead here? This is what we're doing next. So, with Jane and myself and Jeff and Jody and Ashley.
so
I've got the Dr. Tuvok.
Jody is playing Ensign Kim 1.
Yes, he's before he was sucked out of the ship.
Yes.
And Ensign Siska before she was exposed as a Cardassian. And I have 4 characters, and all 4 of my characters are deliciously fun. So you and none of them. Only one of them is kind of true to the original version, of the actor who played them in the original episode. The other 3 are not. So get ready for that.
Excited.
Yeah, it's good, and that's kind of the fun of the show is that we like sometimes we do like a pretty faithful like imitation performance of like whomever, especially if it's a serious episode or an episode that's really good. But I find if it's an episode that we have that's just like whatever, we kind of like this episode, but it's kind of forgettable in some ways, and there's no tragedy to it. This will be fun, and I think Voyager in particular because they're not as beloved.
Yeah, not as beloved, and some of the dialogue between certain characters, especially like if it's the Doctor and Neelix, or
it's like Chakotay and Ensign Kim, or it's like whatever. Who cares? You can do whatever you want. So
that's right.
Chakotay.
Chakotay is so great.
Yes.
Where is he?
Akuchi Moya.
Akuche Moya.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun on Saturday.
That's why they call me number 1.
Nobody calls him number 1. Not even
Janeway. No, she's like Commander.
Yeah, she always calls him Commander or Chakotay.
Chakotay.
She likes to call people by their ranks usually.
Does Chakotay have a different name? Like, is he just Chakotay in one word, like one name?
Yeah, just one name.
Just one name.
Yeah, that's how he goes about it. But hey, we're not here to talk about Deep Space Nine. So I guess we were like, oh yeah, battle lines. There's a lot of like Kira grieving. There's the whole like coming back to life thing and the whole reveal of that. I remember being disappointed with this episode the first time I watched it. Just because like I kind of liked Kaiopaka and like I guess or whatever. And I thought that she was gone too soon, and I felt like the show felt a little disjointed. And I also like this whole and it was kind of a tragedy because these people are kind of stuck at the end on this planet, in this never-ending battle. And they're like, she's like, why don't you have scout parties? Why don't you have defense perimeters? Where are the guards? He's like, we used to. We don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. It's all
We resurrect. They don't care.
yeah, they don't care about
They get angry. They go over to the other side. They kill a bunch of people, and then they like just go back home because there's no point. That's what ends up happening. They have that gigantic battle at the end, and then they come back to life, and they just kind of just slink off back to their caves.
But why? Like, it just seems like that's entertainment in this time, basically.
It's something. It's the only thing that they have.
Yeah,
really, it's they have no entertainment that we've seen. They don't care about medical. We didn't see anything about food whatsoever. So the only thing that they have, where I guess they have only their link to being alive, is their anger and hate of this other tribe. So like Cisco kind of humors them, right, during this situation where this is a little bit different, but I don't trust these people, and we're gonna go off and kill them anyways, just like they always do. The proposition of dying was kind of interesting, but you see, he wanted to turn it into a weapon. He just wanted to win. All he has is the war. That's it.
Yeah, I guess that, and that kind of represents how they can't let go of their hatred, of their anger, their violence, and that's kind of what the story of Kira is, or what we're kind of talking to what Kira's past is. I just think that she just doesn't come across as somebody who, to me, has that trauma, because she seems so professional and put together most of the time. As Major Kira, and so sometimes when it doesn't feel like that pain is real enough to me. Maybe I don't know if either of you agree, but I just don't buy it sometimes.
If there were like subtle hints throughout the past episodes, like if some kind of like action occurred, she was like the first to jump in, or any type of rising tension, you would see her like kind of have to hold herself back. But no, like it just kind of, it's like, you're still holding on to your anger. It's like, yeah, I am. It's like, you have to kind of show us. Don't like tell us that you are and just agree. It's like, we don't really get that how many episodes, 12 episodes of showing that, yes, we see that she's on this destructive path.
Yeah, for sure. I agree that this episode was needed to chill Kira out. That Kira was, she's holding a bunch of baggage, and she needs to release it. And it seems like the only way to release it is through her faith, and through her faith, forgiving her for her being a violent person, because she had to be a violent person.
There is a good moment at the end where, she said, Kyle Paka says to her, she says, well, the prophets forgive me. And she says, only when they're waiting for you to start forgiving yourself and to start reconciling that. And, I guess, and that part is nice, although it doesn't feel maybe as good as it should. I don't know if it doesn't have
earned. It doesn't feel earned because she wasn't the driving force in this episode.
Yeah.
That, and we don't really have as much information, or we didn't really get to see a lot of what Kira did before the series. She explains it a bit in tidbits, but we don't really have enough information about, just to the level of freedom fighter terrorist that she was, because we didn't get to see it. So we didn't get to see her, deal with those in the moment. We're only getting it after the fact. So we're kind of like, all right, what's going on with Kira? Like, why is she like this? So I don't know. She's interesting, but it's also like I feel like this episode's also about the aliens that are on this moon that keep resurrecting, and Bashir's like analyzing everything, and he's like, Cisco's like, organizes a ceasefire, and then like the Bashir's like, how did you manage that? And Cisco's like, oh, I agreed to take them off the moon. He's like, Bashir's like, is that wise? And he's like, listen, they've paid for their crimes 1,000 times over. And, he's like, don't lecture me about the Prime Directive. And it's just like that whole moment of just like you're right, Jaemeel. Like, he's like, the hell with the Prime Directive.
And the hell with you, Bashir.
The hell with you.
Well, it's a bad choice, because let's say the resurrection lasts outside of the planet. you have two warlike cultures who seem very mentally unstable, and you're gonna put them on a different planet.
Yeah.
Like that makes no sense whatsoever.
How do you know they won't get to their respective planets and go, it'd be great if we had ships and we were killing each other again, and like it would just be.
It would be like a warden of a prison coming in and going, you know what would be a good idea? If we just release all these people into a city.
But to be devil's advocate here, okay, I think that Jonathan Banks feels pretty relatable, I guess, or somehow you can connect with him in this role. I think the fact that the NS don't ever really harm them, don't exploit them, could have forced their hand a few times against Sisko and the group, but they're pretty welcoming, more or less, and protective of them.
But once again, they have no fear. Like, why should they fear Sisko and them? Like, they're
not fear, but like, but even at the end where Sisko's about to beam away, and he's like, "Well, you're just gonna leave us behind," and he's kind of like, "Well, okay, I gotta go kill those guys again because that's what I do," and whatever.
It was just a distraction in the grand scheme of things for them. Back to the war,
right?
So wait, one part that we kind of skipped over that was my favorite part is when Kira kind of took control of the situation and stopped the infiltrators from coming in when they first attacked.
Yes.
She shoots the phaser at the rock surface on the top, the curvature of the entrance, which drops a bunch of stones, and one of them drops on one of the attackers' crotch.
The Null Ennis.
Yes, Null Ennis. It was very enjoyable to see that. I rewound it a couple of times.
You liked that? You liked that whole action scene where she jumps out and she fires a phaser?
When the rock drops on the crotch, that's the part. That's great.
Okay, hold on. We gotta find this.
The
I'm
whole
a simple man. I'm a simple man.
It's like in The Simpsons where Homer gets hit in groin by football.
That's great.
Major!
Look at that roll. Wait for it.
Oh,
I love it.
That was not planned, but hilarious.
I'm a
That's
simple
great.
person. I am.
You know what would be hilarious if the person like went, oh!
Feel that.
because those three guys die. All the guys who get the rocks put on them, but they actually resurrect, so it's okay.
Yeah. So they came back, and then he got hit by a stone in the crotch.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You have to have the memory of dying by having a rock drop on your crotch, but it doesn't last. You come back from it a short time later. But it seems like after you come back, you have like a bit of a recovery period.
Yeah.
It's not like, because you see when they all like later on have their big brawl and they're like, oh, then the two sides just go home. That's what happens. And I'm like, what? I guess it's just like, I don't know, rival gangs going out and having fist fights on Saturday night and coming home and sleeping it off and going back.
The Looney Tunes where like the dog and the and they have the punch clock and they fight, and then when they finish for the day and they just punch out and they're like, see you next day, Sam. They're like, see you together, Okay, no worries. We're moving on.
Yeah. No, I get you. Okay, can we talk about just quickly the other three characters from the Deep Space Nine crew? Well, we don't see Quark in this episode or Jake, but I'm talking more Dax, O'Brien, and we get a quick scene here with Odo, who's. I like what they gave Odo to do in this scene because he's like the next Bajoran in charge, I guess, but he's not a Bajoran, but he's the Bajoran officer. And so yeah, Sisko took the Kai into the wormhole, and the Bajoran people are not pleased, and it is great here.
Opaka's people are on subspace to me every 5 minutes.
Tell them one of our runabouts found a trace of a warp eddy current. It's got to be from their ship.
With any luck, we should be able to determine which direction they were headed.
That's not going to satisfy them on Bajor. You have no idea what the Kai means to them. When they heard Sisko had taken her into the wormhole.
Constable, tell them we're doing the best we can, okay?
Shut up,
Odo.
Have the Bajoran station a ship on the Gamma side. We'll stay in close touch by subspace.
He's like, come on.
I'm not a PR dude. Seriously, you're just gonna leave me to take care of this? An
it's
entire
so
planet
crazy.
is asking for their religious leader and what happened to them, and I'm like,
O'Brien gives him such sass. He's like, listen, O'Brien's like, they could be dead for all we know. And Okoto's like, do you know how much paperwork I have to do now? I got to talk to these bureaucrats. That's not my job.
it's great.
Tell them there's a subspace warp signature. We're working on it. Okay, like.
Well, I'm not in Starfleet.
Yeah, he doesn't do that stuff.
So great. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's continue on with
Well, where were we? Where were we? We've been jumping around, but
the B storyline, which is so fantastic.
yeah, I think O'Brien, yeah, we kind of alluded to earlier, shines, and then later on, he's really angry. I think he's he got that necklace from the Kai, and now he's angry. He's so pissed off, and then they have to, like, Dax and O'Brien have to go search this whole solar system, right? They're that's never been charted. He's even like, let's go chart it, I guess, right?
Yeah,
he's so unimpressed to be on this mission. I don't know.
The whole first season, O'Brien doesn't want to be on the station. He doesn't like. He's like, just doesn't like where he is. His lot in life. He doesn't have any friends. He's there with his wife, who doesn't really seem to like it there either. Like, you know, like everything.
He liked the Enterprise.
He liked the Enterprise. He liked that show. He'd much rather just work at the transporter room for some reason. I don't really understand. I mean, he's way more important on Deep Space Nine. You know, you'd think he would be a little bit more appreciative.
Well, maybe he's like, I got stuff to do. I got things to fix on the station. Now I got to run off into the Gamma Quadrant with Dax to look for him.
All right, I do think that is the conscious decision that Cole Meany chose with O'Brien. He's like, he wouldn't be happy. He needs to be fixing the space station in which he has no idea how to fix. So, like,
Can't have the operations chief sitting around daydreaming when there's work to be done, can we? Oh, I'll get right on it.
I'll get right on it.
He's so pissed off all the time. I think I'm like, have a cookie, O'Brien. It's okay.
Yeah, he's like surly. That's the right word for him. He's like a surly computer chief engineer.
So what you're saying is, like, at the height of popularity, they should have had like a Snickers commercial with O'Brien.
Something, yeah. Well, you're not yourself. Sometimes you got to go to the Gamma Quadrant to look for people.
He's definitely hangry, definitely.
And even like later on, when they finally find the moon that they're all on, and the satellites are coming at him, he's like, nope, and he just goes up, and he's like, yeah, he handles it like a pro. He gets a chance to be the vet.
But you skipped over how he found the needle in the haystack.
Oh yeah, he invented a magnetron. That's how
the differential magnifier. The differential
differential magnifier.
Magnometer.
If they went down, we should at least be getting something from their transponder. The warp eddy has traces of meson particle emissions.
Mary Star.
Oh wait, hold on.
Power reactor.
The current shows that their heading was approximately 2-3.
No, did they do it?
I think you skipped over it.
Oh, sorry.
Before they find it, the great part about it is you have to find how Dax questions him about his plan, and it's like, I've never heard of that. She just basically looks at him like, what the hell are you talking about?
I was confused by this because she's the science officer, and he's an enlisted engineer, like he's the chief operations.
To be fair, Dax is not a great science officer. I mean, she doesn't seem to know much about science.
Where is it? Is it before? How deep into this episode is it? Yeah, it's about here, right?
Anything interesting in that direction?
I can't even find it. Sorry, guys, but I don't know where it is on this episode, and I'm tired.
I made like an anime.
I got it right here. It's at the 37-minute mark, Dave.
36?
37 minutes.
Oh,
36. Of course, you didn't check that.
Oh, is that a joke?
I have it if you want to look.
37.
Our sensors are reading life forms on the surface, Chief. I think some of them are human.
That's not it.
That's not it?
No, it's like we can't find it. But
it's a needle in a haystack. Wait, that's how we find the needle, by using a giant magnet.
Okay, so we're in that same situation now. We have to problem solve just like Starfleet officers. So how do we find the needle in the haystack in this episode of O'Brien talking to Jedzia Dax about the haystack?
32 minutes. Go to 32 minutes. I think that's words. But yeah, like never been much impressed with Dax as like a science officer. I find a lot of times she doesn't know what she's doing.
No change.
What the hell would they be doing here anyway? It's a waste of time. But they could be 20 light years from here and we wouldn't have the first clue.
Probe A approaching planet 3.
No, this is not it either. We can't find the.
I'll find it. That's what I do.
All right, we'll just leave Dax there for now. She's the best science officer going. She doesn't even seem like she wants to be there that day.
No, nobody does. Everybody hates this episode. It seems like, except like non-visitor and maybe.
Do you think like by this point they were realizing what they were in for as being on a TV show?
Yeah,
13 episodes in by this point.
Yeah, I think they were like, it's because I mean, like, let's look back on some of the episodes they've already done. They did that, Al Moraine episode. I'm sure that took like 12 hours a day to freaking shoot that stupid episode.
So,
27.
51.
And a lot of times, like, they literally are just spitting out jargon, right? And only one or two actors really get to chew the meat on the bone.
Yeah.
In this episode, it happens to be Cisco and Kira.
So 27:45.
27:45.
This is how we do. This is what we do.
Got it.
Katy Perry.
Well, I
A
was
few
more talking.
probes to scan the system for those specific magnetic resonance patterns. If Cisco's runabout is in the system, we might pick up a fluctuation in the hysteresis curve.
The magnetic deflection of a runabout's hull is extremely weak. The probes will never be able to detect it.
They will, if I can outfit them with a differential magnetomer.
A differential magnetomer. I've never heard of a differential magnetomer. How does
She
it
has to
work?
laugh.
I'll let you know as soon as I finish making one.
She doesn't even laugh after he says. She just turns around and straight face.
She looks nervous.
She looks like O'Brien's about to build a bomb. Like, what the fuck are you talking?
Like an Irish car bomb or something.
Yeah. Are you IRA? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, she looks at him like he's got two heads, a differential magnetometer. But yeah, like I don't even know. Like we don't get a lot of some of these characters we know a lot about their backgrounds. Like we know because Dax had that trial early on that she has all these degrees in exobiology and science and astrophysics and all kinds of things. But we don't know as much about O'Brien. Like as far as we understand what O'Brien's thing was, he just signed up for Starfleet. He went into town one day and signed up for Starfleet, and there he went. He maybe gone to the basic training in some academy, maybe just.
He's a glorified handyman. Okay.
Yeah, he's the only guy who like has his sleeves rolled up.
Yeah.
Right. He's not really like Scotty wasn't even like that or any of them, right? They especially not like Geordi and like the TNG engineering section just looked pristine all the time, right? Maybe I guess in the movies a bit, like it felt like, and then of course in the Kelvin timeline, engineering feels like a dirty place to work, but
Geordi feels like an engineer from like that went to school to be an engineer, so everything is precision and by the book. And basically, Miles O'Brien is Joe Rogan's character from News Radio.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
patching things together.
Yeah.
Geordi also always gets annoyed, just like O'Brien does, when anybody's trying to help him. Like he's like, you're just get in the way. Like, and
unless it's Data, and then he goes like, "Yeah, you're right," and then he runs off and takes Data's idea and implements it.
Data? That was not funny.
Yeah, like it seems to be a common theme with the engineers that like they like to work alone, which seems ridiculous, because it seems like too big of a job for one person to do.
Yeah, like O'Brien must have like a staff of probably 40 people who work with him, right?
Bunch of geeks that we'd never know their names.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, so he outshines Dax. Not only does she have all these degrees, not only is she the chief science officer, she's also has a symbiote who is 300 years old, and
she should be smarter than every single person except maybe Bashir.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so I don't think that this episode does, just from a rating standpoint. Like, I think it's, I don't know what. Maybe we should give it a rating. I don't know if you guys are ready for that rating yet, but have we
We have to
analyzed
do
it
fun
enough?
facts. Do you guys want to do fun facts?
Yeah, here, let's hear the fun facts, and then we
Hit
can
us with the
we
fun
can weigh in on the
facts.
rating.
Okay, so the writers considered creating a new character to be killed and resurrected, but this was changed to Kaiopaka. She was considered to be the most expendable recurring character.
This is only second appearance.
Yeah, well, that's why she was expendable. The original concept involved a group of humans and Cardassians instead of the Ennis and the Null Ennis, but they didn't want to do that because it would look like Cisco and the team there were choosing sides. So they didn't want to. They just wanted to make it like obscure. So I guess that's why they went to the Gamma Quadrant instead as well.
That works.
Tom Morga designed the weapons in this episode. He did so by taping together a cardboard blade, a ball, and an old tool handle. And it shows.
Yeah.
I mean, go take a look at the weapons in this episode. I mean, they look like they were made by a child. This episode was one of the first to state exactly what the United Federations of Planets is. Commander Sisko's response to Zlanko's question was that is it made up of over 100 planets who have allied themselves for mutual scientific, cultural, and defensive benefits. The mission that my people and I are on is to explore the galaxy. Jean-Luc Picard later says something similar to Lily Stone in Star Trek First Contact. I guess
the interesting fact about that is, what was the question he was answering?
They were kind of asking like, who are you, basically, wasn't it?
These weapons look that they just look like spears and weird knives. And
the question was, what race are you? Kira says, I'm a Bajoran, and then
Sisko just gives his
I'm
intro.
Benjamin Sisko of the Federation of Planets, and then does that huge long monologue. It's like, you didn't even say I'm a Terran or human, nothing. Just
he's like, it's not important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they look human, sort of too, right? These people,
kind of Cronenberg-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan Banks looks like Tommy Wiseau from like in this episode. He looks like
you want to see him back? You want to see him again?
What a funny joke!
Oh, hello.
Hello.
You're tearing me apart.
Yeah. You're tearing me apart.
I assure you, I could kill you from way over here if it makes you feel any better.
Shut the fuck up. Let me die in peace.
The aforementioned necklace that Opaka gives to Brian for Molly was never mentioned or talked about in the series ever again.
So O'Brien pocketed and probably pawned it off when he went to Bajor.
Yeah, he
The very
sold
next
it.
episode.
Yeah, he was like, the Kai gave you this. How much you give me? He's like, I need money to gamble against Bashir. So stunt coordinator Dennis Madalone directed the first 2 days of this shoot, as they consisted of action sequences, which director Paul Lynch was not interested in handling. By the way, Paul Lynch directed 3 other episodes this season. He did Move Along Home, for instance. So, and this was also Paul Lynch's last episode directing Star Trek. He had done 5 episodes of TNG, and this is his 5th episode of Deep Space Nine already in season 1. So he's done half the episodes basically. Executive producer Rick Berman disapproved of this, feeling that Lynch had abdicated his duty as director and decided not to hire him to work on the franchise ever again.
Jeez.
So basically, he came out. He's like, I don't want to direct action. The guy's like, you're a director.
The directors do. Some
directors. Right. This episode marks the first time a DS9 runabout is destroyed. The Yangtze Kang.
Yeah, it wasn't a good name. They're like, let's just blow this one up.
Yeah, this sucks. In an outtake from the first scene of the runabout, Avery Brooks delivered a line, "We'll be entering the wormhole in about an hour." Instead of the scripted time of a minute, Brooks smiles and Camille Savola Kaiopaka says, "Well, I ain't got that long. I've got about 15 minutes."
That wasn't in the episode, was it?
It was a blooper outtake.
I think it's a blooper. Like she said that, because he was supposed to do this long thing, and then she kind of made a joke. Okay, so this episode marks the first time Hilary J. Bader and Richard Danus worked on a Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode. I don't know why that's important. Although it was not specified in the episode, the prefect whom Cisco refers to is called a god, so they do confirm that as canon. The event of the episodes are touched upon again in MMO Star Trek Online, Dave, which we play. Yes. And in the victory of is Life expansion, which stars 10 actors from the series. So I mean,
including her.
Yeah.
They're like, will you come back and play that character from 1993?
Probably did the voice. Speaking of Kaipaka, she leaves the Alpha Quadrant in this episode, making her final real appearance in the series. She does not later appear in the Collaborator or Ascension in the Orb. No, she later appears in the Orb experiences in the Collaborator and Ascension. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Other than Cisco, Kira, Bashir are stranded on this moon, which is surrounded by an automated defense system to prevent the NS and the non-NS from escaping. In Star Trek: The Clone Wars, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, there's a very similar security system on the planet Iago that prevents anybody from leaving the planet.
Yeah, and it reminded me a little bit of Star Trek Picard, where we saw this year the planetary defense systems that were around the planet where Elnor was from. Kind of reminiscent a little bit of that. Like that, planetary defense systems aren't explored well in the series either at this point. So,
and this episode aired on March 25th. April 25th, 1993.
Yes.
So, gives you an idea of how old this episode is.
All right. Well, then, with all that in mind, do we have our ratings? And Jaemeel, I still need 2 ratings for you from 2 other episodes, by the way. Jeff, do you have a score for this?
4.5.
I'm going to give it a 6.
I'm going to give it a 5.5.
Wow.
Like a 5. Okay.
5.3. That turns out to it has a 6.6, which I think is generous. But I find the IMDb scores are generally, if anybody's gone out of their way to give a rating to this episode, it tends to be generous. So there you go.
There's parts of it that are good and well constructed. It's just in its execution and just one thread, I think, that was pulled out that kind of makes it like not a good episode. Like, once again, as I stated, if this was a Kira episode and Kira was the instigator of the story, it would be in a 7. It would be in the 8s. It would be a powerful episode, I think, and we got it cheated out of it. Of course, thankfully, yes, we do have other episodes that kind of give Kira her due, but it's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, I think there was a struggle in this episode to give Cisco a little bit more command, of presence. I feel like they knew they wanted to tell a really good Kira story, and they were saving it. I don't think they knew what they wanted to do with Cisco at the beginning. I think they were a little confused as to how to make him a good character. I don't think he really hits his stride till season 3.
Yeah. Apparently, Avery Brooks was going to leave the series. He revealed years ago that he was only going to stick around for a couple seasons. It was just like the long hours and whatever, and it was his kids who talked him into staying.
He's like, "There's no Hawk in this."
Yeah, a man named Hawk that's dying to come back, right?
Let me grow my goatee.
Yeah, they want. Yeah, I'll stay because let me grow my goatee. That was leverage.
I want to break out the Hawk, and then they're like, "Wait, what? Season 3? I can break out the Hawk?" And he's like, "Sign me up. I'm here. I'm here."
Right, the Hawk. I still haven't seen that.
It's better if you don't. It's better if you don't. Just
I love in What We Left Behind. They're like, he was on Hawk. I mean, that was a good show. I'm like, it was.
He was known. It was known Hawk.
I'm sure he was. I mean, I didn't grow up in the 80s, so I mean,
you think with all the streaming platforms, we'd be able to watch all these old shows, unlike at least one of them, but we don't. So
they're holding on to the rights because they want to reboot the Hawk and bring him back.
They want to reboot Hawk. They want people to be like attached to the old Hawk when the new Hawk's going to be, more millennial friendly or something. So
yeah,
we'll have to see how it goes. Okay, so I don't know. Is there anything else to say about this episode?
Not really. I mean, other than the fact that I feel like Kira's Nana Visitor's acting could have used a few more takes.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the episode was again season 1 rushed. I mean, Jody's kind of right when he says, "I don't know how you're getting through season 1," because there are some episodes like this where they just don't pass. That's why I gave it a 4.5. They don't pass the 50%. I would fail this episode. If you get over 50%, I approve. I think it's an episode I would rewatch again. But if you do not get over the 50% threshold for me, I am not rewatching your episode.
I would rewatch this, especially because Jonathan Banks is in it now, and
Right.
I kind of know that. So I think just from that standpoint, it's above the better half. And yeah, I would have liked to see more Kai Opaka, but again, like we said, it opened the door for the Kai Wynn character, which was a really important part of the arcs of these series and the different seasons. So yeah. Next week, though.
So
sorry.
I rated it above 5 because once again, we saw someone get hit in the crotch with a rock.
Right.
So
That takes it from 4.5 to 5.5. Right there.
Yeah, right there. It brings it to an average of 5.3, by the way, which is an improvement from last week, Vortex. But guess what? I think we might have it worse next week because next week we have the Storyteller. This is an episode where Chief O'Brien is appointed a spiritual leader of a Bajoran village.
This is the episode at the beginning of the episode where Bashir is begging O'Brien to be his friend.
Yeah.
And for that alone, I love it.
But everything else in the episode,
right?
High rating coming in.
I remember watching that particular episode as a kid and going, I don't know if I like this show. Like this is not my Star Trek, and whatever.
I don't think the actors knew. I think the writers, everybody was confused what to do with the show at the beginning. Even though they had a lot of good concepts and a lot of good setup for a lot of different things that would come later, they didn't know how to milk that cow to really make some nice fine cheese.
So much potential. We know how much potential's here, and we're seeing all these characters bumbling around. But it's very much like that for me when I watched the first season of TNG as well.
Yes,
and even Voyager, first season Voyager. I think less so, but because season 1 Voyager is not that far from season 6 Voyager, it is, but it isn't.
Once Janeway cuts her hair, I feel like Voyager in its stride. Much like when Cisco became Hawk. I feel this way. The Picard, it's like with the TNG, it's once they get rid of Riker grows a beard and they get rid of that line that goes on their shoulders. Once they get rid of that, the show gets better.
So what was Enterprise's mistake? What did they not do?
Oh man, Enterprise.
They never clicked. Okay, like these other shows, they figured out. The problem was it was like Enterprise was on their way, but it was too little, too late, and there was too. I think the whole prequel thing for me always turned me off. I never liked Enterprise from that standpoint because I didn't want to go back. I was like, this is not what I need now. I don't think the series needs this now. The franchise rather. And
I don't know if prequel was the problem. I just feel like it was the execution. I'm just not as interested for some reason.
Bakula's the worst captain.
Yeah, I feel like Bakula was not the right choice to be the guy. In my opinion.
Definitely.
I don't know. I liked Enterprise. I just felt like the show in general should have had okay, we're gonna do 3 years and we have a concrete plan as exactly what we're gonna do and just do those 3 seasons. The fact that they kind of just we'll figure it out as we go as a prequel, I'm not a big fan of at all.
I was excited when Bakula was cast 20 years ago, and then I saw because I thought it would be more like his Quantum Leap character, I guess, and ultimately Archer is not that Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap. So, and it was just always disappointing to me from that standpoint. And a couple of the other characters,
I feel like that was part of the mistake was casting Bakula because, if you look at all the other 3 captains, they were not known for anything other than, I guess, Hawk.
The Hawk.
And Kate Mulgrew was known from some soap opera stuff, and
but not into science fiction, or it wasn't you can just say there was a separation in characters more. Or less.
But they were all established technical actors, theater actors, all Patrick Stewart, Avery Brooks, Kate Mulgrew.
I'm not arguing that point. What I would say is that before Star Trek, like even when you think of Scott Bakula, you think of Quantum Leap. You don't really think of Enterprise. Whereas when you think of like before, I mean, Patrick Stewart went on to do Xavier and all that kind of stuff, but before he was not known for anything. Same thing really with Kate Mulgrew. Same thing with kind of. Except I don't know how big Hawk was. I mean, according to What We Do in the Shadows, Hawk was the shit.
Right.
What we left behind. Yes.
Yeah, not What We Do in the Shadows. I was like, did they mention that?
would
And
be
what,
interesting.
Oh, did I say What We Do in the Shadows?
yeah. Yeah, what we I was like, that would have been an amazing reference. But
You think I'm cool?
yeah. You think I'm cool?
Wait.
Yeah.
So a man.
Oh,
called
wait, we got a
Hawk
comment here, guys. From Ian Myers. He says, okay, come on, guys. The Storyteller, which is our episode next week, is extremely entertaining. Struggling to give that speech was side spitting. Once upon a time, there was a die rock, and he lived over there in the woods. So
I'm not saying we won't have fun rewatching that one because
maybe not, but I remember watching it 20 or how many years ago, almost 30 years ago. Not great back then for me, but I might like it more this time. It can't be worse. Is it going to be worse than Vortex? As long as it's not worse than Vortex.
Ian Myers, if you're still watching and you want to come on next week to discuss your love for the Storyteller, you are most welcome.
Yeah, or just
Hop aboard.
whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable.
Right. So
shoot us a message on our page at Live Long a Podcast, and if you're interested in coming on, if you have a webcam and a mic, if you have a laptop, whatever, yeah, we'll set it up.
The Hawk only went for 13 episodes. 13 episodes, and
Right, but it's a sequel to another show that he did.
yeah, Spencer for Hire, and he did.
Right.
Was it 1, 2, 3, 4 different TV movies as well as Hawk?
It must have been.
Must
Jeff
have been.
Reeves?
Kind of just froze there.
he just froze in mid sentence.
The Hawk,
Okay.
see, the Hawk was just too much for him.
He's like, it turns you into a statue.
Yeah.
Spencer for Hire. Spencer. He's been making Spencer movies.
Yeah.
It's-
The Spencer movies is where he plays the Hawk, but I'm like, geez, I don't remember this movie, this show.
It's a like we were like I think too young for it. Like at the time, you and I. So like we were. It's more adult and I guess it's just not as memorable. People don't. Robert Ulrich and Avery Brooks. And...
Like I watched a lot of television as a younger person, but I can't. It's just a gap. It's a gap. Whatever, you know what? First season Avery Brooks reminds me of Captain Holt from not from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but from 21 Jump Street.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like
Right?
the movie?
No, like the TV show.
Oh, okay.
Like the TV
See,
show.
I never watched the TV show as much. Not that particular one. But I watched a ton of stuff.
Same type of thing though, like the hair, right? And he did have a beard though, but the same type of captain that's there. He's kind of just there as the authority figure, kind of like Cisco is in the first season, whereas the other main Jump Streeters are the main characters. Your Johnny Depp, your Hops, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What do I got here? Jeff's still frozen, eh?
He is?
Yeah, but he's got here.
Coolant leak.
I can make him talk, so it's okay. I should make that less loud, probably. Or
get off my ship.
Oh wait, that's Jamie. Where is it? Jeff Jordy.
Coolant leak. Bridge, we have a coolant leak in the engine core. I can't shut it down. I estimate 2 minutes to a warp core breach.
Yeah, here you go. Jeff says,
"Go, go, go!"
That was him doing Jordy. Oh my gosh. And apparently, if you check out the last performance we did for Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations, my Worf apparently was well received. So
you showed great honor with your performance.
I had to do 4 different roles, I think, yeah, it was fun. But that one, okay, if we ever do an episode that has that many characters, that episode had like 20 characters in it, we need more people, because to give everybody 5 characters was like nuts.
Just too much.
It was just too much.
People had to kind of warm. Did people have to like kind of warm up into it?
Yeah, but we've been doing it for this is like our 3rd time doing it. But the thing, you do have to kind of warm up in it. And this one was different because we recorded it in the morning instead of at night.
Everyone had their coffees with them, so
yeah,
it was kind of.
We got another comment here from Ian Myers, who says, on the episode definitely didn't age well, as speaking to next week's episode, The Storyteller, at all. I think that the entertainment factor is there on Rewatch, though. Appreciate the invite next week, fellas. Depending on how the week goes, I'll take you up on that. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Ian. We appreciate it.
Join us on the shuttlecraft.
Yeah.
Brand.
Here. They're all named after rivers. Right? The Yukon. I liked the Yukon because it was like the Canadian one. I don't know if we're getting Jeff back. At this point, we were kind of ready to sign off, but we were just kind of burning time here while we were waiting for him to come back. But
I don't know if he's coming back.
We don't want to keep you, but if you want to hang around, you can. I guess I give him another minute or so, and then after that I'll just give the sign off. As mentioned, we have coming up here this Friday night actually is the next performance. Jane playing Catherine Janeway, as well as Lieutenant Belana Torres. Jessica playing the Doctor, and Tuvok. And wait until you get a hang on my Neelix, Jaemeel. It's going to be great.
I'm eagerly awaiting it.
Yes, and my cast is maybe. And I'm going way out of the box with Tom Paris.
Tom.
Power went out where Jeff is. That's what happened.
Ooh. Rolling blackout, maybe.
Yeah, I had one today. Sorry, that's the wrong button. Okay, well then in that case, maybe we just have to sign off.
Yeah. He has to reboot everything, and
he has to
Windows
reboot everything.
Can be a fickle thing.
Yeah.
Well,
okay. Well. Hey, thanks for joining us. Everybody commenting, make sure to subscribe. Check out our other shows that we do throughout the week. On Thursdays, we do original series rewatches, and that's a lot of fun. And I can't recall which one we're doing next, but it's I can figure it out in 4 seconds. Hold on.
Yep. And then you have the radio theater on Saturday, so everyone should check that out. And then once every month, right? You have trivial debates on Sundays, which is always entertaining.
The last Sunday of every month. Yeah, we do the trivial debates. Jeff's hosting this next one, so get ready for that. And we have the Super Mater Brothers podcasting channel where we do Survivor. If there was a Big Brother, I think we'd at least be doing a once a week recap or something like that. But
you're gonna get Big Brother soon. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be happening.
Yeah, it sounds like it's gonna happen. So we're gonna be doing that. Oh, we did Westworld, and that's kind of where we do non-Trek but TV related stuff. So
have you checked out Warrior Nun yet?
Which one?
Warrior Nun.
Warrior Nun. No.
It just recently came out on Netflix. Buffy-esque. So I just cleared through it.
Okay. Yeah, I have so much other stuff I need to watch, including Hamilton. I have check that out.
I haven't seen Hamilton either.
Yeah, I want to see it, and I also have Birds of Prey. Actually, I haven't seen yet either, so I'm planning to watch that.
Wait, the movie or the TV show?
The movie. I watched the TV show at the time, though. I was a devout Birds of Prey watcher. Then they took it away. They canceled it. So.
Well, they made reference to it. I think they made reference to it on the most recent crossover for the
in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah, she totally shows up, Huntress, and she totally gets wiped out by it. Bye.
You're like, oh no, she's gone.
Yeah. Remember that show they would never bring it back? Well, it's dead. It's been erased. So that's it. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Check us out Thursday. Check us out Friday for the radio theater, and we'll see you next time. Live long and podcast, everyone. Till next time. Bye.